And now please welcome on stage Shri R. Venkatramani, Attorney General of India. Please put your hands together for Shri Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General of India. And yes, please welcome on stage Dr. Lalit Bhasin, President, Society of Indian Law Firms. Ladies and gentlemen, I will request you all to please stand up for the national anthem. I would request you all to please join us for the lighting of the lamp. Thank you, everyone. Well, moving ahead, I would now like to invite the chair of the India Committee of American Bar Association, Ms. Pratibha Jain, to deliver the welcome address.
Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankarji, Learned Attorney General of India, Mr. Venkatramani, Learned Solicitor General of India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, and Mr. Lalit Bhasin, Chair, Self and Indo-American Chambers of Commerce. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the second edition of the American Bar Association India Conference. If you asked me after the last year's conference if it would be doing it again this year, I would have said an emphatic no. It's a lot of hard work, and quite honestly, I felt sick last time after organizing the conference. But then I decided this year to do it again, considering 3 important factors that convinced me to do it. It's in the theme of the conference, Harmonizing Horizons, Uniting Law, Governance, and Philanthropy in India and the West. First, this conference is a conference that brings together the public law aspects of dispute resolution and adjudication and the private law dimensions of business and corporate sector. It is only befitting that the Chief Justice of India was present last year for this and will be giving the valedictory address this year. Of course, we are also very fortunate to have the distinguished presence of Honorable Vice President of India as the chief guest. We are also fortunate that many sitting and former High Court and Supreme Court judges are participating in this conference, so mostly tomorrow. Second, this is the only platform I know where the top managing partners of the top Indian firms come together under one roof. Apart from ensuring I get billing discount at one place from all of them, it's an amazing opportunity to learn from their collective wisdom. We have 2 sessions today and tomorrow where they will talk about their journey till date and the future of the legal profession. Third, 6 of the premier law firms of the country have decided to come together and formally commit to create an Indian law firms pro bono club, including AZB, K-Law, JSA, Seraphin Partners, SNR Associates, NDA, and Trilegal. And since all of these are partners for this conference, we decided to use this platform to announce it. Third, I also felt it was necessary to highlight the importance of philanthropy in connecting our profession to the civil society in India and globally, and have a discourse on what more this profession can do. In 2020, sir, I created a foundation called We for Her Foundation that works on women empowerment and access to legal help. I'm happy to inform that 4 premier law firms, AZB, Khaitan, NDA, and Trilegal, have already agreed to provide pro bono legal service for this cause. A huge round of applause for all these law firms, gentlemen and ladies. Last but not the least, the growing importance of governance and the critical role being played by our profession to help create stronger business and a robust economy needs to be discussed and debated, especially considering the growing advancement in technology. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the people that have helped put this conference together, but most importantly, the American Bar Association team in the United States, including the current chair, David Schwartz. Post our conference last year, there has been significantly more engagement within the Indian legal profession and the American Bar Association members. Last year, the largest delegation to the ABA annual conference was from India. This year, we are again planning on another delegation for the annual conference in May in Washington, and I encourage all of those who want to participate in that to please reach out to us directly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jain. For the introductory remarks, I would like to invite here Dr. Lalit Bhasin. Sir, can we have you here? Thank you.
Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, the Attorney General of India, Mr. Venkat Ramani, the Solicitor General of India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, Ms. Pratibha Jain, the Chair of the India-Asia Committee of the American Bar Association, my worthy colleagues here, Mr. Nishit Desai, Mr. Amit Kapoor, Mr. Mohit Saraf, Shweta Bharti, and other distinguished colleagues from the profession. The Honorable Vice President has come to inaugurate this very significant and important event. He has many claims on his times because he holds 2 very important constitutional positions, you see, that of the Vice President of India and as the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. After a remarkable tenure as a designated senior counsel, he held the constitutional post as Governor of West Bengal with great distinction. As a senior counsel, as a legislator, as one holding constitutional positions, the Honorable Vice President is a shining example of extraordinary adherence to the constitutional norms, fair play, transparency, and above all, justice. Vice President personifies Bharatiya values. So friends, a big hand to the Honorable Vice President here. So he's here to inaugurate this important conference on breaking barriers and building bridges. Mutuality, reciprocity, and respect for law are basis for strong bilateral ties between any two countries. It is not more evident than the relationship between India and the United States. There can be aberrations, such as some unfortunate US stance on the recent developments in India, but these do not come in the way of continuing strong relationships that exist between the countries committed to rule of law. A reference was made by Mr. Uday Kotak and Mr. Amitabh Khan to the role of the legal profession. The Indian legal profession is second to none in the world, and we are in a position now to face the challenges which come from overseas, and we are not opposed to, and I put it on record on behalf of the Society of Indian Law Firms, on behalf of the Bar Association of India, and the other institutions, you see, with which I am connected, that we welcome the foreign lawyers to come, but a road map has to be laid down, a level playing field has to be created, and that is where you see the role of the Bar Council of India, which is the statutory body, comes in, and I'm sure they will take necessary steps. So far as the India and the US legal professions are concerned, we have had traditionally very, very strong ties. Traditionally does not mean about 100 years, but about last 30, 40 years. And we have had the benefit of inviting delegations from the American Bar Association. We had also the privilege of visiting the American Bar Association's offices in Chicago, in New York, and in Washington, exchanging delegations. And as the first chair of the India Committee, as a founder chair of the India Committee, I can say with some daring certainty that our relationship has grown from strength to strength. And under the present leadership of Pratibha Jain, under her stewardship, this relationship has been further strengthened and it continues to grow. Therefore, it's a brilliant initiative and I compliment her and her entire team for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hussain. I would now like to invite Mr. Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General of India, to deliver a special address. Sir.
Honorable Vice President of India, our own Dhankarji, the learned Attorney General for India, Pratibha ji, Dr. Pasin, Nishit Bhai, I could never call him Mr. Nishit Desai, Mr. Amit Kapoor, and all my young friends. Today is a momentous occasion where law firms which are known for competing with each other are collaborating with each other, at least on one issue, that they must discharge their responsibility which the society has conferred upon it. Whenever a lawyer, be it firm or individual lawyers, agree to do something pro bono, it gives back to the society what the society has given to him. And that is something which is salutary and nothing less than salutary. It's not just praiseworthy, it's salutary. I can go on record and make a commitment on my behalf that if any of these firms want any pro bono services from me, I would be ready to do that, giving priority to the pro bono work over other paid briefs, as we call it. The topic of the day is the governance and the role of the bar in the governance of this country. Since last about 10 years, we all have seen that bar has been playing an important role in governance of this nation. We cannot govern directly unless we are either elected or appointed as government officials. But the government always constitutes committees with members of the bar to guide it, to steward it, and to help it frame policies which not only enhances the national image, it enhances the economy of the nation, but becomes easier for the common man to reach the doors of justice. There has been number of occasions where the bar has contributed in the governance of this country. But we have few challenges left. And in my view, in the next 5 years, the challenges which the government will face will be twofold. First is the challenges coming from artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can be used for variety of good works, positive work, constructive work, but it has its own limitations like deepfake and etc. When it comes to controlling or at least regulating the artificial intelligence, the government would need the assistance of our community while balancing the competing rights between right to express and right to privacy. That is where the lawyer's role will come. The second priority which the next government for next 5 years will be taking up is judicial reforms. As it was being discussed on the earlier program, our country is progressing day by day and we are jumping numbers in terms of ease of doing business, in terms of being the most digitized nation in the world, in terms of per capita use of digital medium, etc., etc. But we are going down on the question of enforcement of contract, and blame must rest not only on the judicial system but on us also. We cannot run away from the fact that we are, whether knowingly or unknowingly, a part of that country's reverse journey. We on our own will do many things, but the government also is committed in the next 5 years to go for judicial reforms. And when I say judicial reforms, I necessarily mean the holistic reform which ensures that the image of India being a non-compliant country in terms of contract enforcement and particularly in the field of arbitration is improved. This would be the priority of the government. Slow enforcement contract can be attributed to many things. I'm not going into the details whether some amendments in the Arbitration Act or a Mediation Act can cure the disease which we are suffering from, or some other method, some drastic method is to be adopted, because that is for the legislatures to do. But we can definitely give our suggestions, and we as members of the bar would definitely contribute constructively as to what the government can do in the next 5 years to ensure that India is a chosen destination for all international or other domestic disputes. Friends, we are all eager to listen to the wise words of the Honorable Vice President. Honorable Vice President, as has already been informed to all of us, and all of us are aware, is not just the Honorable Vice President, but someone all of us love, because he was one of us and he was one of the eminent counsels of the country. apart from, thereafter he chose to occupy the constitutional office of the governor, and thereafter he is adorning the chair of the Honorable Vice President of India. All of us are waiting to listen to his wise words, and therefore I'll not take any further. I wish this function a great success, and in any of the efforts being made by this association, if I can be of any assistance, my doors are open. Anyone can approach me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mehta. Inviting next on stage is India's Attorney General, Mr. R. Venkat Ramani. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Sir.
Honorable Vice President of India, your presence touched a very important anecdote in my life, that when learned friend Mr. Tushar Mehta mentioned about his being part of us. So let me start on a slight lighter note for the day when we are all assembled here to think about building bridges in more than one unconventional way, if you put it like that. So I went for a matter in Jharkhand. We used to stay in a particular hotel, and when I went for that case, that hotel accommodation was not available. So my clients, the Steel Authority of India, took me to another hotel. So as I entered the hotel, then the clients told me, showing at a particular room, this is where Mr. Dhankar used to stay. And so I was so delighted, and said, you're also going to stay today. I was so delighted, and then called the Honorable Vice President, and he said, you know where I am? And within a week thereafter, I came to know that he is where he is going to be. So that room was a very lucky room for me, and the room where he stayed, within a month thereafter, I also became the Attorney General for India. So thank you. So I have a room connection. But this room connection is very different. It's not merely a room connection in a hotel. It's a connection at a different level. So I think that's what brings us together on occasions like this. I thank for the invitation given to me today evening. We talk about uniting law, governance, and philanthropy. They may all look like isolated, unconnected compartments. Let me pick up at the last part of it, the philanthropy part of it. I think we have somewhere or the other started dissecting our mind, our conduct, our activities, including our professional spectrum, somewhere into unconnected pieces of matters. I think we have gone wrong there. If I understand philanthropy correctly, I understand it to be the core of every human being's ethical conduct. Philanthropy is not mere charity, but the ability, to the inclination and the willingness to reach out to the rest of the community in as many ways one can possibly do is philanthropy. And therefore for the profession, philanthropy is not, again, though of course important, the pro bono part of it, is our mental framework to design our whole professional ethic and framework in a way that the totality of a professional conduct leads to utmost community fulfillment, if one may put it like that. And if Columbus had not probably traveled to and took the risk of traveling on the high seas and landing somewhere in America, thinking he's going to land in India, then perhaps several things would not happen in the world. So in a way, I think we are all Columbuses, and the great travelers on the high seas in the 18th and the 17th centuries, like Captain Cook and Magellan, who went all around the globe, connecting people across the shores. So if I am not wrong in saying that we are the Columbuses, the Magellans, and the Captain Cooks of the 21st and 22nd century, I will not be exaggerating that. Two things keep always coming back to my mind. The one, look at what is happening at the global scene today. Those of us who have graduated from law schools in the 70s, we were looking at the world is seen from two bipolar, sharply divided components of the world. The one, the socialist bloc, another non-socialist bloc. And despite the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we had serious bloc, collisions across the world. Thankfully, for a number of reasons. I don't think there's an evening where we can get into those reasons. Thankfully, for a number of reasons, this collision is no longer part of human global history. For good riddance, this collision has stopped at one particular level. Enormous amount of human waste has happened. Wars, unnecessary aggressions and so on and so forth. Hegemony, colonialism and all that happened directly or indirectly because of these collisions. And therefore, we have given up forever this kind of collision at a particular level. The product is freedom to innovate. Freedom to innovate, create, both at an individual level and a collective level, domestic level, national level, and at the global level. So look at enormous amount of exchanges and sharing that take place because of the freedom that we have created for ourselves. But unfortunately, this freedom we thought, by being a freely innovating individuals, firms, market, etc., we still have another important challenge amongst us, namely the ability to create equal regard for all of us. Equality claims need to be, realized as early as possible. On the one hand, therefore, we have a innovation and freedom and creativity, which I think each one of us would like to value. At the same time, our ability and our inclination to be able to fulfill the equality claims of large sections of the community all over the world. Therefore, there's two apparently conflicting issues, or matters where I think will keep, having our attention for a long time to come. And in the context, when I got the invitation, I was just looking at the number of international bar associations, international association of lawyers. There are a large number of them. It's spread around various, departments, subjects, continents, countries, and so on and so forth. And what are they doing for the past 30, 40 years? I still find there is a divide, some kind of a divide which probably is unnecessary. So if only are able to think that the large number of associations which are created domestically and internationally can come together in one common global platform where the sharing of innovation, creativity is for creating the global commons of resources. The global commons of resources. The global commons of resources means intellectual, mental, spiritual, religious, and all that one can probably innovate out of our ability to think and create. We therefore think of a global commons of resources, and that's where I think this kind of connection will make immense contribution. And I find, of course, the contributions cannot come just of its own. The barriers are still there. The barriers are national. The barriers are created by reasons of, a variety of reasons in the past, race, caste, etc. So how do we break these barriers? And unless we break these barriers, and the barriers can be broken not necessarily through governance efforts alone. The barriers can be broken only through individual and collective efforts of persons who are proficient in understanding what law can do. That's how the barriers can be broken. Let us try to break those barriers, and then we find governance will probably emerge in more than one meaningful way. So today, governance institutions, constitutions across the world, whatever difference they may have, one common element in all of them is to ensure that each individual human being is able to have a fulfillment in life by being free. And how do we ensure that? Therefore, the more we move towards that goal, governance institutions will become more and more accountable. And governance institutions becoming more and more accountable means that we, through law, can make that accountability more nearer to each and every one of us. See, these are the dreams one can talk about. 2047 was told that we need to have Indian currency becoming the world currency. These are the very broad, what one may call the global map of bridging. So one end of that would be the hegemony, the neo-colonial endeavors being still pursued by different countries. How do we ensure that hegemony and neo-colonial pursuits will have to be slowly eliminated? How do we do them? And that perhaps may come only if people who are convinced about and with their commitment to the global rule of law, which has to be a non-violent revolution, through people like us participating in every way as possible to make the dream of a united globe where each one of us will have our equality, our individuals, dignity, etc., valued at the same level. Oh, what a wonderful world that will be. So these kind of associations, I think congregations, are meant slowly to move towards this goal. But while we do that, we'll always look about the kind of laws we have created, the deficiencies we have created in the legal frameworks, and the functional, faults, the lapses, etc. We'll always keep talking about that. But when we talk about that, we'll always keep in mind what are our goals. I think that's where I think this congregation is very important. And I feel very, very delighted to be here today evening. And with the Vice President, I'm sure we'll get more valuable insights on how this can be made more closer to our hearts. And I thank the organizers once again for the opportunity in the evening. And I would like to be united with you as much as one can do in this global endeavor for our common human resources. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the main highlight of the ABA India Conference 2024. Well, he's someone who fits in very well with the legal fraternity because not very long back, he was himself a practicing advocate. Today, he's an important pillar of India's democracy who's playing a key role in guiding the nation towards fulfilling its goals for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Shri Jagdeep Dhankar, Honorable Vice President of India.
Good evening, all of you. And presence of young professionals is a great reprieve to me. I'll tell you why a little later. Sri R. Venkatramani, Distinguished Attorney General of India, Sri Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General of India, Ms. Pratibha Jain, Chair, India Committee, American Bar Association, India, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, President, Society of Indian Law Firms. There are many in the audience, some young, whom I know. Difficult to recognize presence of all, but I must make a mention of Mr. Nishit Desai and Amit Kapoor. My address will be primarily for young professionals. For reasons I can't figure out, for me, law firms were like Lutyens Delhi. They were impregnable. I could never pierce them. I came to know law firms' strength only from the other side when I faced their lawyers in the court. There may be some exceptions. They engaged me because others were not available or not prepared to go to a far distant place. Now, my young friends, learn your lessons hard. My tryst with legal profession, the jealous mistress, started in 1979. In less than 10.5 years, I was designated senior advocate. The tryst ended, the painful parting took place in 2019 when I was nominated according to Mamtaji, appointed according to the Constitution, by the Honorable President to be Governor of the State of West Bengal. So technically, and in legal sense, I am no longer a fraternal member of this august profession. But then, my connect will there be always. That is the reason why I am here. The parting with jealous mistress, young friends, was very painful. I miss my memos. They were quite useful. I had the pleasure. I leave it to you what kind of it. Because I used to take no more than one case a day. And the other side, senior lawyer, had multiple cases, was looking at the board, negotiating one court to another. I took longer time in my arguments to enjoy their helplessness. It was like extraction of a tooth taking longer. And therefore, I need not issue any disclaimer. Never had any association with law firms in particular, and the opportunity may not come. As I am told, people who demit this office, that is of Vice President, they normally don't appear in court. And I hate giving opinions because they are cited for purposes beyond their worth. Friends, it is an absolute honor to be a lawyer. It's a lifetime opportunity. I say so because having handled litigation of some of the world's largest multinationals, corporates, law firms don't know it. So I'm revealing the secret for the first time. I enjoyed my stay in International Court of Justice, International Court of Arbitration at Paris. I chaired 2 committees. I encouraged every young professional who came to Paris and met me. I inspired and motivated him. Been to 40 countries, and I normally don't travel without legal work. I am not much involved with tourism. So I can tell you, if a man like me from a village with that kind of academic credentials and going well, you need not believe in his crutches. The world is before you. Make most of it. Nishit and Amit, you have strong goodwill. The law firms have great goodwill. I enormously benefited in the field of arbitration from his messages. Enormously. I read them every time. Even after I ceased to be a senior advocate by virtue of my position, the book that he gave me, a small book, but multiple quick responses, is very useful to me and my team, helping the nation. So lawyers as a community are well suited to contribute to global peace, harmony, development, and make, in particular, our country, Bharat, great. But this can happen only when we realize our spinal strength. Before me, if I am not wrong, the participants are principally from America and India. A very powerful democracy, a very developed democracy, and India, home to 1/6 of humanity, is functional, vibrant democracy. The largest, the oldest, on the rise as never before. The rise is unstoppable. The rise is incremental. In the face of headwinds, where global economies have collapsed, the challenges, others have been decimated. India has marched ahead. From being part of fragile five economies just a decade ago, we are now amongst the five. That's not important. What is more important is the journey from fragile five to big five. Overcoming the economies of Canada, UK and France. We had rough terrain, difficult terrain. No one knows it more than the lawyers in this room. We made it. And have it from me, my young friends. In 2 years, we'll be the third largest global economy ahead of Japan and Germany. How it has been brought about? It has been brought about because there is mission, there is passion, there is fearless execution. It has been brought about because fundamentals have been changed. And these fundamentals matter to young men and young women more than anyone else. One fundamental that has undergone big change is equality before law. Enshrined in the Constitution, but we had flourishing, privileged pedigree. They entertained an idea they are above law. They are beyond the reach of law. They are immune from law. And that was a ground reality. I say so because I came to be exposed to public governance for the first time in 1989 when I was elected to Parliament and had the good fortune to be in the Council of Ministers. Patronage, nepotism, favoritism are matter of the past. Patronage no longer secures you a job or a contract. You are living in good times. You are living in times where there is an ecosystem where you can fully unleash your energy, expand your talent, realize your aspirations, fructify your dreams. You are lucky. People of my age were in turmoil, in cyclonic situation. How we had to travel long distance to go to a school. How there was no one in the profession to handhold us. How for years I came to be so away from Lutyens Club by living in Lutyens, Delhi. I was living just 500 meters away from Supreme Court, Sagar Apartments. So my message to you young friends is, don't be deterred by anything. There is nothing else any institution has worth only because of human resource. And I always found that assistance rendered to me in global commercial arbitrations or in the highest court or high courts emanated from young minds. I always acknowledged it. They are source of inspiration to me, motivation to me. You are lucky that the law firms are hand-holding you. I wish they could be a little more sensitive. Second big change, one is equality before law. Second big change, corruption is no longer rewarding. Power corridors once infested with middlemen, power brokers, they extra legally leveraged decision making and certain professions engaged in a situation. They were deciding appointments even of ministers. Our system to that extent had got rotten. People were in a state of hopelessness. They were drifting from the main theme of this country. But now, power corridors have been duly sanitized. These elements have not been neutralized, they have been finished. you will never have the fortune of seeing how they worked, in what sinister manner they worked, because they will never be there. They are extinct. This is a phenomenon of last decade. And the third one, Indian passport a decade ago, and being Indian a decade ago outside India was a different game altogether. And now, if you are an Indian, they look at you. They wish to connect with you. Why? Our global image has taken a huge upsurge. I wouldn't say incremental, vertical upsurge, like a rocket. And why? IMF, World Bank. There was a time they were in a disciplining mood for India. In 1990, as Council of Ministers member, as a minister, I suffered the pain that our foreign exchange was between 1 billion and 2 billion US dollars. Our gold of Bharat, gold of that Bharat that was known once as Sone ki Chidiya, was taken in a plane to be pledged to 2 Swiss banks to sustain our credibility. Where are we now? 600 billion plus. There may be a week when there may be a jump of 6 billion, a billion a day. That's a big change. It was never before. IMF, what does it say now? India is a favorite destination, a hot spot of investment and opportunity. What does World Bank say? In digital penetration, India has accomplished in 6-7 years, which was not possible in more than 4 decades. I don't go by what they say. I go by ground reality. Our digital transactions, and mind you, in a country of 1.4 billion, we are 50% of global transactions. Our UPI is getting acceptability in countries that are developed. And look at availability of internet, accessibility of internet, usage of internet per capita. We are more than USA and China, with due respect, taken together. At this point, with this growth, a growth that is marked with economic rise, my heart pains. When someone who was in position of power in this country, in the field of economics, I don't want to name the individual, spread only pessimism. India cannot go beyond 5.5% growth. No one asks a question when the growth is more than 7.5%. Why this pessimism when we are in an era of hope and possibility? Nothing is beyond us. Chandrayaan 3 landing on the soft side of moon, South Pole, is just an instance. If you young boys and girls will care to find out, you will know how much we have earned in billions by putting rockets of other nations from our delivery machines in the space. This is Bharat. Could you have ever imagined that our legislature and executive will work in tandem to that extent? The dream of having 1/3 women in Lok Sabha and state legislatures is fructified. My young friends, India is the only country in the world that has constitutionally structured democracy at all levels. You know it. Part 9 of the Constitution. Part 9, capital A of the Constitution. A constitutionally structured democracy at panchayat level, at municipal level, Which other country has it? And in that scenario, there are some countries from sovereign platforms, they want to teach us what democracy is. Young minds have to be activated. You have to subscribe to the spirit of nationalism. Nationalism is non-negotiable. We have to have firm commitment to it. You are discerning minds. You are intelligent minds. You must speak out on public platform, on social media. We are not a nation to get scriptures from others. We are a nation that has civilizational ethos for more than 5,000 years. Look at G20. What was the motto? One earth, one family, one future. We did not coin it for G20. It is nectar of our civilizational worth, embedded in our ethos. Vasudev Kutumbakam. The world gathered it. When we faced pandemic COVID, some of us, I would call them misguided souls, wanted to create hurdles. How can we look pandemic through partisan prism? How can we look growth from politics? How can we look at nationalism from gain in political arena? No. We overcame pandemic. We helped 100 other countries. They are grateful to Bharat for rescuing them from pandemic. And we are the only country, gentlemen and gentle ladies, only country in the world that made available the digital certificate on mobile. We saved paper. No other country in the world, mark my words, not even the most developed, made available that certification to its people. Now, when we are a nation like this, I am little surprised. How can an observation be made in ignorance of ground reality? Let me tell you a simple thing, the reaction has come. Citizen Amendment Act. You are lawyers. What does it say? We are taking into consideration humanitarian aspect, a reprieve to those who have been persecuted on religious grounds in our neighborhood. None is being deprived. And the narrative is so different. Why are you silent? Second, we are not inviting people to get benefit of it. Benefit of this is being given to whom? Are already in this country. They are in this country for over a decade because cut-off date is 2014. Are we doing it for the first time? Jews, Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, others, Parsis, they came to this country, flourished, blossomed, occupied top positions. And now someone from a sovereign platform, ignorance of what is the ground reality in this country, is trying to teach lessons to us that this is discriminatory. Let us rebuff their ignorance. Let us enlighten them to engage in due diligence. If you will not rise now, when would you rise? We are in Amrit Kal. Firm foundation is being laid for a developed nation at 2047. And what is firm foundation? I come from a village. There was no light. Every home has a light now. There was no gas connection. Every home has now. There was no tap water. Largely it is there. Exercise is going on. Toilet I could never think of. Every home has a toilet now. This big change has taken place. Those of you who are from villages, you can work from your home because internet connectivity is available in every village. People of my generation and little younger to me know, they used to take a day off from work so that they can pay their electricity bill, their telephone bill, their water bill. They can apply for a passport. Service delivery in a country of 1.4 billion is digitally driven now. Everyone is aware of it. Look at the success of it. I am not on a figure that a large amount, more than 2,75,000 crores has gone to farmers. The number is more than 9 or 10 crores, keeps on fluctuating. They receive thrice in a year direct transfer of money. Government has mechanism. But what is important is the farmer has the mechanism to receive it. Relate back to the time when I got into Parliament. A year before that, India's Prime Minister, a young Prime Minister, Rajiv Gandhi ji, I knew him very personally. He had to lament. If we send 1 rupee from Delhi, fraction of it, 15 paisa reaches. No longer. It's 100%. So that's another issue. There are people in the world who want to lecture us on our judicial behavior. India has robust judicial mechanism, a judiciary that is fair, independent, firm, and ever ready. It is citizen-centric, institution-centric. I have on occasions indicated that our country will take a big leap when institutions work in their domain. They must work in tandem. But there will always be issues. There can be no day when there will be not an issue between judiciary and executive, judiciary and legislature. We'll overcome that by dialogue, deliberation, discussion. But can you look in the world around and find another judicial institution that is as independent, as enormously talented as ours? Trust me, you will not be able to find out. I have some exposure in that direction. It cannot happen. And look at the big change that is taking place in this country. I appeal to you also that you are young minds who can catalyze big change. You must persuade young minds that there are new opportunities available to you. They must come out of silos. They engage recklessly, driven sometimes by their parents, to try only for competitive examinations. It's a highly stressful. I don't call it cutthroat competition. But if there are 100 seats, 1,000 people try, 900 will be disappointed. If it is 110,000 try, look at the frustration. And after people get into government jobs, they leave the jobs to make most of the private ventures. It is in that context I am telling you that there are people in this country and outside also who find it very difficult to digest our growth. The world is stunned. Everyone is applauding. But some of us are setting afloat narratives that are sinister, pernicious, demeaning our progress, tainting our institutions. We must guard against them. Your silence on these issues will ever resonate in your ears. That there was a time when you could contribute to the growth of this great nation. You failed to do it. As coming to the governance aspect and harmony, the world is in need of harmony as never before. We have no rule-based order on high seas, but our Navy is contributing massively. You must be hearing every day, day in and day out. We had problems in various parts of the globe. But look at how our citizens were taken out using diplomacy, using our resources, and helping other nations also. So there is every reason for you to be proud Indians and take pride in our historic exponential achievements. Make most of it. I know there are certain issues. The issues will be resolved. We'll find way out. We are no longer in a tunnel where light can't be seen. There are tunnels around, but the moment you get into a tunnel, you see a light. It can't last long. My young friends, you know globe. You know global developments. Look at what is happening in other parts of the world. It was your dream once to be in that city, that city, that city, that city. Now you find, why not this city? There was an observation. There is no growth of arbitration in our country. Why? Simple. Arbitration in our country is a mechanism that adds one tier more to civil litigation. You get an appointment of an arbitrator, intervention of court, and then the act is so worded, the arbitrator at appointment may be independent, but who stops you from calling him that he is not independent now? You can go to court again. Then there is an award that is always Caesarean. It takes long and long and long, notwithstanding changes in law. When the award is there, it is not an award under challenge. It's a civil suit. Then there is a statutory appeal provided. And then we are a litigating mind, enormously talented and innovative in that area. Why does Supreme Court exist unless we don't access it? So we reach out to Article 136, make way to the Supreme Court. What was initially thought to be a small slit is the wall is demolished. You can reach any time. Sometimes we take pride that the Supreme Court is open to one and all. Good thing. But then what happens to high courts? What happens to district courts? Everyone has to do the job. While I am extremely proud of our judicial institutions, we will have to also take care that institution of high courts is fundamental to judicial governance. It is high court that has power of superintendence over subordinate judiciary. That's a big change. All you have to do it. Well, I wouldn't take more time, which normally I take when my wife is not present. But I find Mrs. Venkatramani is present. I noticed her late. So there can be a direct communication. And when there is a possibility of a credible communication, best is discretion is the better part of valor. So my young friends, in particular, wish you great. You are living in a nation, you are lucky. All of you are, according to me, part of marathon march to a developed Bharat at 2047. I am sure I will not be around. Wherever I may be, I will be clapping for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for delivering the inaugural address. And now I will request Ms. Jain to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed guest, please.